Thank you so much for joining this morning. We'll go ahead and get it kicked off. So we have Melanie Sifuentes and Lizzy Camus. Would you guys like to introduce yourself to the groups?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here, and thank you all for being here. I'll introduce myself, but one of the great things about managing others is that you get an opportunity to bring some of your team members to share in this experience. So I am Melanie Sifuentes. I lead our global brand marketing and media here at McCormick, which includes some of our investment strategies, creative media, including retail media, content, PR, and social. I am here with Lizzy, who leads our retail media, and I will allow her to introduce herself before we dive in.
Hi, everyone. Lizzy Camus. I manage retail media here at McCormick. I've been here for 7 years, managing across all brands in the US and Canada, and across all retailers. So I'm excited to chat retail media with you guys today.
Great.
And I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Wes Howard. I'm a senior director with a company called Ibotta, based in Denver. I'm based in Atlanta, and we've partnered with the McCormick team a good bit over the last few years. So it's nice to meet all of you guys. Melanie, why don't we go ahead and just let's dive in. So we're going to be talking about retail media networks as the subject today, but kind of a broad question to get us started off. What would you say your approach towards retail media is as a company?
So here at McCormick, we recognized the importance of retail media early on. I was fortunate enough to take on responsibility for retail media in February of 2020. So wanted to just settle in, kind of learn about what we do here for retail media, and then the pandemic hit. So what an acceleration. Everybody was shopping for groceries online. And for some consumers, it was the only way that they were getting their groceries. So it was important for us to really be there for consumers to fuel their cooking at home needs. So we really leaned in and we invested in this space, and we learned a lot along the way, and we're excited to share some of that with you today. Cooking at home has remained elevated. That plus consumer desire to really explore with flavor are things that are continuing to accelerate our business. So, our lean in there is something that fuels really our approach to retail media, but it is coupled with the increase in consumer behavior in shopping online.
That makes a lot of sense. Lizzy, I'm curious, with the increase in the retail media networks, how does McCormick work across these various networks? And I would just say, as a follow-up, like throughout that, what would you say is your biggest challenge with the fragmentation of the networks as they currently are?
Yeah, so we're fortunate to have fantastic partnerships with our retailer partners, right? And retail media networks are truly just an extension of that. We see them as an extension of our existing partnership with that retailer. And that sometimes is direct with the retailer, and sometimes that's through digital intermediaries like an Instacart, a Criteo, or Citrus, right? And so regardless of how they go to market with their retail media, we really want to ensure that the retail partners have success, right? And so we want to grow in this growing place with them. And so sometimes that means that we have some challenges, right? And so we see some of that stuff happen. And I would say we grew really fast, and Melanie alluded to this too. Like, we jumped in really early and we started investing, and we continued to invest in the space. And retail media networks, some of the challenges with them is you can only scale their platform as much as their technology allows you to scale with it, right? And so ensuring that we're partnering with them early on and often to help build their own capabilities has been a huge unlock for McCormick, and it really helps us drive partnership and value with the retailer media networks, and ultimately with our retail partners, right? We want to ensure that we're there for consumers when they are shopping and cooking at home, and so having McCormick products there and partnering with the retailers ensures success for everybody.
That's interesting. So as you guys have continued to invest and expand your investment and your presence on the retail media networks, Melanie, I'm curious, like, how do you know when you've reached a saturation point just investing with a certain retail media partner?
Yeah, I think that it's really dependent on a lot of different factors, right? We have grown our retail media investment significantly over the past 5 years, and our data shows that continued investment is very much warranted. But saturation points by retailer can vary depending on, as Lizzy mentioned, sometimes there's a platform that we're going a little more slowly with as they grow and scale. Retailer partners are investing in their own infrastructure. So e-commerce is a big part of that. Sometimes it's following consumer behavior. Sometimes consumers have shifted from one retailer to another, which warrants us looking at our entire portfolio and saying, hey, where is really the place that we want to partner even more in the coming year? The great thing about retail media is we have a lot of data, and we love data around here. We look at data in real time to really determine, how the campaigns are doing, how this is impacting and driving the business. And we also have data, using marketing mix. So we use marketing mix to make sure that our retail media investment is kind of evaluated against other investment in our portfolio. So as we look at that, it's not really about a saturation rate with each individual retailer. It's the ability to continue to evolve and optimize to really follow consumer behavior.
That makes a lot of sense. Lizzy, I would say, since retail media is an emerging strategy for some companies, obviously you guys have dove in head first, but over those last 5 years, where are you pulling the budgets from to support these retail media network campaigns?
Yeah, it's a great question. But retail media is something that's very important to us at McCormick, and we do a really planful approach in that. And that means that we plan it up front, right? So we know that retail media drives our portfolio as a larger media funnel. And so we're planning that media up front. And so I wouldn't say we necessarily pull it from anywhere since it's kind of already allocated across. But given the continued growth in all the platforms and the competition we're seeing and how many people are coming to shop for groceries and the maturity of those platforms, of course, we're going to continue to invest there. For years to come, that probably means incremental investment. But luckily for us, we have the ability to, like Melanie mentioned, with all the data we have, to really look at all the channels across and make decisions live on whether we want to kind of pull monies from different channels as needed based on the briefs.
I think that's interesting with all of the emerging data that you're actually able to measure. So Melanie, I would ask you, in its current state, what does success look like with a retail media campaign? And then how do you guys talk about that internally to inform future campaigns?
So the success of a campaign is if it's driving the business, right? And we talk about all of those campaigns, successful campaigns and ones we want to optimize a lot internally. I would say lines are so blurred right now. So you have a renaissance of people, even Gen Zers, going back to shop in stores, right? But a lot of times they're using their buy it again list from a previous online shopping trip as their shopping list in the store. So it's very important to make sure that we're on that list, right? And then maybe a couple days later they forgot something and they're going to do click and collect or home delivery. So this isn't just about convenience. It is convenient, but it is also about making sure that consumers are able to explore and discover new flavors and new trends. So one example recently, one of my favorites, is there was an influencer who posted a recipe for a pasta salad that went viral. And we jumped on that very quickly. Why? Because one of the main ingredients in that pasta salad was one of our amazing products, Salad Supreme. So if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. Lots of barbecues and pasta salads to be made this summer. But we recognized that this was going viral. So within 24 hours, we sprung into action across the funnel. We licensed the content, partnered with the influencer, boosted that content, and created recipe pages in retail media so that consumers could add all of those ingredients to their cart. So as we think about consumer journeys, they're not linear anymore. Recent data states that 80% of consumers are skipping over traditional steps in their journey and going right from inspiration to purchase. I see something, I love it, I want to buy it. It's our job to make it easier for consumers to buy that product and to not only buy the individual product, but integrate that with recipes that they love so that they can continue buying it again. So as we define success, of course, it's macro driving the business, but stories like that where we're able to really connect with consumers and drive inspiration is really what gets us in the cart again and again. So that's what we want to strive for.
That's interesting. So, Lizzy, I would say just with the success that you guys have had so far, what opportunities would you recommend, for other brands to take advantage of in the retail media space?
Yes, my passion point. So I think there's three things to be really successful in this space. And the first one, setting campaign objectives. And that's obvious, right? We do that for every other type of marketing. But I think with retail media and like specifically, it is something that's always changing. We always say that it's ever evolving, but it's also kind of the same. Like the base functions of retail media, like retailer search, on-site and off-site display, haven't changed a whole lot in their kind of basic principles in the past couple of years. And so sometimes you can get stuck in rerunning year-over-year campaigns or continuing a campaign that's evergreen without really looking at the campaign objectives and looking at what success looks like for that campaign, and ensuring that you're kind of pivoting, always kind of looking at those campaign objectives, ensuring that they're meeting and laddering up to your business goal is something that's really important for the success of that, because consumers change, insights change. You need to use that data to kind of drive that. The second one is test and learns. And again, I'm not like being groundbreaking here, but test and learns are something that, again, you can kind of forget. And the best part about retail media is that it is a breeding ground for new tactics. And so sometimes you can get stuck, like I said, in those kind of traditional base tactics, but looking outside of just traditional retail media tactics and talking to the retail teams and saying, hey, what is important for you is really important, and testing into that. So I challenge everyone to say, hey, take 10% of your budget and put it to test and learns every single campaign to ensure you're always kind of staying on the cutting edge of what you might need, because you never know when an opportunity will come. And if you have that data to really lean on, you'll be able to then execute much faster and much more productive. And then the third piece is just measurement. Melanie mentioned it. We're data nerds here. We actually sit within like an analytical arm. And so we really want to use all the data that we have at our fingertips. And that can be overwhelming, right? You have so much. And I think especially with the retail POS data that we're starting to get, there is so many insights in there and nuggets that you can glean, but really using those in a smart way and leaning on your retail partners to help guide you into ways to use them is really important. We have seen great success in using the basket analysis data to drive targeting. And so being very, very planful and thoughtful about what you're going after is important. And so measuring that success by using that data is going to be important for anyone to be successful in this space.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. We love to plot and plan as marketers. We love to have a plan, and you have to have a plan. Retail media is so dynamic that it can be tempting to go left and right and really maybe deviate from the plan. But what we find works well is to plan about 85% and then allow 15% of flexibility to jump on cultural moments like the one that I mentioned, to react to different shifts or changes in the platforms. And so I think that's another, hallmark of a successful campaign, where you have a plan and you're able to set KPIs, but you also allow flexibility, especially in such a dynamic environment.
That's a great point. Lizzy, you mentioned measurement and analytics earlier. Coming from the promotion side, we typically see higher metrics when a promotion is included with a retail media ad unit. How do you see promotion providers and retail media networks working together as we go into the future?
Yeah, we just talked about this yesterday, Wes. So, like I mentioned, campaign objectives are really important. So we know promotion is very important for conversion, rounding out that lower funnel, right? And so based on campaign objectives, promotions can be a really strong tool in your tool belt to execute. And we found more and more, especially with the consumer environment and higher cost of living, that this is even more important, and it has become more and more of a staple within our plans. And I'll say that we see the best benefits when you plan and stack them all together. Make sure retail media is strong, make sure your display is strong, make sure those promotions are there. And it's a very successful tool for McCormick in order to get people to kind of try our product and get consumers aware of the McCormick brands. And I'll say too, there's national promotions that we obviously run with Ibotta, but then there's also regional ones that happen at the stores. And so it's really important for my team to ensure that we're talking to those field sales teams and connecting the dots and saying, hey, what are you running? What are we running? Making sure it overlaps and connects to drive kind of that full 360 plan for those products.
Got it. Well, as we wrap up today, Melanie, I'm going to throw another open-ended question to take us home. But what do you see being the future of retail media?
So With retail media, what I think we've learned, and anybody who is a fan of the space or works in the space has also learned, is you think you're predicting the future, and then the future comes much more quickly than you could possibly imagine, because these are areas that are continued to grow and accelerate. I see two things that really are going to accelerate even in the coming year and then in the future. And I would say the first is just making the consumer experience more seamless. I mentioned it earlier with influencers. Social commerce is going to continue to grow. I also see, and even recent data on some large retailers acquiring streaming platforms, connected television is going to be a very fertile ground for retail media. I see a world where, very soon, where you're going to be able to hover over a commercial in connected television, and it's going to ask you, do you want to add this stuff to your cart? Or even, hover over a product or a food or a piece of clothing in a television show, and you're going to be able to add that seamlessly to your cart. So I think that connected television for sure is an area that will continue to grow, and you'll see retail media integration throughout the funnel. The other area that I think, and I almost personally hope, continues to advance is really the use of AI within our retail media platforms. So I think, Alexa, add this all to my cart has been around for a while, but going into a retail media platform and be able to say, add all of the ingredients to make pumpkin pie to my cart, or even provide me a predictive shopping list for Thanksgiving dinner. And then consumers can go in and edit that list versus starting from scratch every time. Or even opening up opportunities for discovery in new foods, new meals. Maybe you're making tamales for Christmas for the first time ever. There's a lot of ingredients involved there. So the ability to create predictive lists and have an even more, inspirational and easy consumer experience in platform, I think, with the help of AI is definitely going to be something that's a huge benefit to consumers. I would say overall, we're really excited about the future of retail media and the role that we play in it. So thank you for allowing us to talk about it for a little while.
Absolutely. Thank you both. Why don't we give a round of applause for our participants?